Alrighty, welcome everybody back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully everyone is having a great Saturday so far. Let's see what we have here in the chat tonight. We have Randall, Legacy, Pete, as well as Weather Warrior, Justin, Caden, and Cruz, and everyone else who's in the chat who I may have forgotten to welcome. Or if you are just now tuning in, welcome to the live stream, Haley, as well. Glad to see all you guys in here for another stream. All right, also, John, welcome to the stream. Glad to see you here as well. Let's switch on over to our main scene. Hopefully everything's good for now. Yep, looks good enough. Number one thing right off the bat, the level 5 out of 5. Hold on a second. Is that different? I feel like that changed. Is this the same? We're going to go back to the other screen for just a moment, because I want to see if this other screen is the same screen as that. So we are not actually starting soon. We're starting now. But I just got to see. Okay, that's display capture 3. Okay, so it's not different. I'm just tripping. Got it. Alrighty, so yeah, we're going to be going over some model data, going over the most likely case scenario, the high-end scenario, the low-end scenario, all the scenarios that we are looking at least for the most probable scenarios. Most probable scenarios will be what we really look at here. So right off the bat, we're dealing with, if you didn't already know, you didn't watch this morning's video, we are dealing with a very, very significant and a very impactful blizzard, unlike one that we have seen in this decade so far. The last time we had a blizzard of this magnitude was in 2016 and or 2017, depending on exactly where you live along the coastline in the New England states. There was also a similar blizzard like this in 2022. However, I don't believe that was as widespread as what this one will be. And this one will also feature probably the opportunity of seeing upwards of, honestly, 30 inches of snowfall. The National Weather Service high end is, I'm pretty sure, we'll check it together, but I'm pretty sure the high end in Southeast Massachusetts is 38 inches of snowfall, which is just over 3 feet of snow. I'm pretty sure is the high end for southeastern Massachusetts. Again, we'll look at that together in just a bit. So we're looking at like a magnitude of a blizzard that we haven't seen at least since 2017. That's 9 years ago. One that is very easily comparable to 2016. That is 10 years ago. And then I've seen some people comparing this back to the blizzards back in the 1990s out here for the New England states. So very, very, very historic blizzard, likely on par to start tomorrow afternoon and last till Monday afternoon or evening. So we'll begin with our watches and warnings. That's what you're looking at right now here, mainly across the northeastern U.S. If you're in the purple, that's your winter weather advisories. If you're in the pink, that is your winter storm warnings. If you are in the blue, that is your winter storm watches. If you're in the blue area is likely to be upgraded to a pink winter storm warning tomorrow morning. So if you are in that blue area, some areas in the blue, you may get downgraded to a winter weather advisory, or you may get upgraded to a winter storm warning. The reason why these aren't upgraded to a winter storm warning yet is because there's a little bit too much uncertainty to issue that warning right now, because we don't know how far to the northwest that winter storm's going to be. So most of you in the blue are going to be upgraded to winter storm warnings, but there may be a few counties that end up getting downgraded to winter weather advisories. And then, of course, we have the big boys, the blizzard warnings out there, covering much of the state of Delaware, almost the whole state of New Jersey, much of southern, if not all of southern Connecticut, the entire state of Rhode Island, which doesn't say too much, it's a pretty small state, as well as going into eastern Massachusetts, including the Boston metro. So big time blizzard warnings out here for a good chunk of the New England states coastline, out here from northeastern Massachusetts all the way back down into southeastern Maryland here. So very, very widespread blizzard warnings. Not quite the blizzard warnings like what we've seen back in the Midwest, but for the New England states, it's not too often we see this large of blizzard warnings out for these areas. So just if you are in the red, that is the main area of impacts. We are not talking about your ordinary winter storm with this. This is a blizzard warning, so it's a very serious situation. You need to be preparing for this. Hopefully you've already finished preparing for this, honestly, because impacts are going to begin as soon as tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon for some of these blizzard warned areas. So a really, really serious situation. We could go to take a look here at our WSSI for the next 3 days. And you'll notice, again, we're at a level 5 out of 5 for our WSSI going into, let's see, so today, Sunday, yeah. So Sunday, we are at that level 5 out of 5 for winter storm impacts here. You can see here in this grayish, that's a level 1. The yellow, that's a level 2. The orange, that's a level 3. The red is a major winter storm, a level 4, and then the purple is your level 5 out of 5. So we've got a pretty good chunk of a 5 out of 5 out here, all the way from the eastern side, actually including almost the entire metro of New York City now, in that level 5 out of 5, all the way down into Philadelphia. That's in southeastern Pennsylvania, back up into central New Jersey, back into Long Island, which I couldn't remember that in my video if you watched earlier. It was like halfway through the video, I finally realized that was Long Island. And then even going all the way back up here into Cape Cod, we've got that level 5 out of 5 in effect. Also, all the way up into southeastern Maine as well. So pretty large 5 out of 5 risk for overall winter storm impacts across this general vicinity that I have highlighted in white. Obviously, this is going to change as we go in tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets a lot more widespread. But basically, if you don't know what the WSSI is, it's the Winter Storm Severity Index Scale. It takes into account many things. Your snowfall total is taken into account. The area where the snow falls is taken into account. How common snow is in that area. Blowing snow is taken into account, as well as wind gusts are taken into account. Visibility is taken into account. So it combines all these things of all these winter weather hazards and puts them into one scale. So if you're in like Philadelphia, a foot of snowfall with 50-mile-an-hour winds is going to be a 5 out of 5. If you're in, say, I don't know, a less populated area, let's just say like north central Pennsylvania, and you get a foot of snowfall and 60-mile-an-hour winds, well, that's not going to be as impactful to the infrastructure as if it was over a city like New York City with those same conditions, or Philadelphia with those same conditions. So it takes into account population, again, as well as the city the wind gusts, the visibility, the blowing snowfall, and how common that heavy of snow is for the area under said risk. So the main thing is, though, really, I don't want you to get too caught up into if you're in the red or the purple. Really, if you're in the orange or greater, that's really what we're talking about. If we're in that level 3 plus, so if you're in that orange or the red or the purple, really anybody in the orange, red, purple needs to be preparing for very heavy snowfall and potentially blizzard conditions. Obviously, if you're in the red, you are at a much higher likelihood of seeing those blizzard conditions, especially the closer you get to the coastline where that low pressure will be. Thunder snow is going to be possible across a large chunk of this area. If we go ahead and switch over here to our categorical risk outlook for day 2, a pretty good chunk of our risk area for a snowstorm, at least. This is a pretty large chance for thunder snow. We're looking at, I'd say, all of Long Island, half of Rhode Island, a good chunk of southeastern Massachusetts, a slim portion of southeastern Connecticut, a good chunk of central and southeastern New Jersey, and even back down into Delaware and into southeastern Maryland, you have a chance for thunder snow. Now, once you get back down into Virginia Beach and Norfolk, that area, you guys probably aren't going to see much snow. You may see some flurries on the back end of this, but you're not really looking at thunder snow. You're just looking at heavy rainfall that may have some thunder in it, and then some back-end snowfall behind all that mess. So you're not really at a risk for thunder snow down here because you're probably not going to see a lot of thunder, or rather, you're probably not going to see a lot of snow. You're going to get some thunder, but probably not some snow. Whereas areas further north, you could see you're in the blizzard warning as well as that risk for thunderstorms. So that's the overall idea with this winter storm in terms of the WSSI, the Winter Storm Severity Index scale, as well as those watches and warnings. Again, the main areas being those winter storm warnings in the pink and those blizzard warnings in the red, 2 main regions to watch, which includes, again, the entire state of Massachusetts, entire state of Rhode Island, entire state of Connecticut, entire state of New Jersey, and entire state of Delaware. You guys are under that pink or red shaded areas, and much of Maryland also included in that pink or red area as well. I think only like one, maybe 2 counties in Maryland. Oh, actually, a few counties back in here. Okay, so probably like 4 to 5 counties in Maryland not included inside of that pink area and or red area. So let's go ahead and talk about snowfall totals. We'll just jump straight on into that because I know that's what a lot of you guys are going to be wanting to know about. Let me switch over to here. Got to find the right site. There you go. This will be our snowfall totals from the National Blend of Models. And I'm also going to pull up the snowfall totals from the National Weather Service, and we'll compare the two. I'm on the right thing. Yeah, right here. All right, there we go. So let's start with the National Weather Service because that's going to be your more accurate one, most likely. And this is what we're looking at as of the newest National Weather Service updates, which is roughly 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Not a bunch has changed. I think they have increased those snowfall totals across Long Island as well as Rhode Island and into southeastern Massachusetts. So if you're in the red areas, that's where we're expecting really 18 to 21 inches of snowfall. I don't think any of these red areas... Ooh, never mind, New Jersey, 24 inches right there. So some of these areas in the red actually are upwards of 24 inches of snowfall. But generally, you're looking at 18 to 21 inches of snow if you were in the red, with the exception of like central New Jersey, which could be 23, 24 inches of snowfall around that area. That's over at Howell near Lakewood. That's where our jackpot is, according to the National Weather Service. And then surrounding areas around that, if you're in the orange, that's where you're looking at a foot of snowfall. If you're in the yellow, that's where you're looking at probably about 9 to 10 inches of snowfall. Then the dark blues, where you get into the slightly lower amounts, where it start to really drop off to that 4 to 6 inches of snowfall range. So, for instance, just to go through this color table for southeastern New York. So like areas here in Albany, you're going to get 5, maybe 6 inches of snowfall. Then as you go a little bit further to the south here, closer to Cobleskill, you're going to get probably closer to 5 to 6 inches of snowfall. Then as you go further south towards Oak Hill, you're going to get closer to 8 to 10 inches of snowfall. And then when you go very far south here, all the way down to near Hopewell Junction, you're going to get closer to 12, 13 inches of snowfall. And then the further south you go, closer to New York City, the higher that snowfall total is going to get. So New York City, you're looking at probably about 16 to 18 inches of snowfall is a very reasonable amount for you. That is the expected amount. And I did want to take a look at the high end. And yes, they have indeed changed this. So still, I did not read that wrong last time I looked at this. Yes, indeed, 38 inches of snowfall. A 10% chance for the high-end amount of 38 inches of snowfall here across Brookton, Massachusetts. And they've actually added another area down here in New Jersey where they have the same 38 inches of snowfall being a possibility, and then some scattered areas around here. So we are looking at the possibility of a extremely historic winter storm if any of these totals do verify, which if you think about it, there's a 10% chance that the high-end amount does verify somewhere in this area. So when you combine that over such a large region, somebody in here ought to verify that 10% chance. You know, someone ought to verify that high-end amount. So I think somebody in here that I've circled, specifically if you live in southeastern Massachusetts, central New Jersey, or southeastern New Jersey, someone in here is probably going to get 30 inches of snowfall. And there is that slim chance we could even see somebody get 3 feet of snowfall. Really, the main area for that chance of 3 feet of snowfall would be across central New Jersey. Let me highlight that in white. Maybe see that a bit better. Central New Jersey down in here, south central New Jersey, as well as back up here into southeastern Massachusetts. Those are the 2 areas where I think we have that slim chance of 3 feet of snowfall. Elsewhere, 3 feet of snowfall, even if you're in Long Island, that's probably going to be pushing it. You can see the high end there is 33, 34 inches of snowfall. And then what about the low end? Well, this is the low end, although I don't see a world where this verifies. Somebody is probably going to get that unlucky 10% chance of the low end verifying. So someone's going to end up getting a big disappointment somewhere across the eastern U.S. And you can see that low end is very low, but I wouldn't, if you're a big snow lover, I wouldn't stress much about the low end. The low end is extremely unlikely to verify. The high end is more likely to verify than the low end at this point. So, I mean, it's worth just looking over there. You could see the low end, but I'd be pretty surprised if somebody ends up with this low end amount back into New Jersey, Long Island, and back up into Massachusetts. So what about the national blend of models here? Let's see if we've got a new update. 19Z, I've already seen this one, but some of you guys may not have. So let's take a look at that. All right, so here's our blend of models, and they paint a very clear picture of where our greatest snowfall totals will likely end up being, really painting from central New Jersey all the way back up into southeastern New England, into much of Connecticut, all of Rhode Island, and into eastern Massachusetts. So that's the hot spot there, according to our blend of models, which is a very real possibility, a very real likelihood. Some of these, really, there's not like any totals I really like fully disagree with. I think some of these might be a little bit on the high end for a possibility, but I don't like strongly disagree with any of these snowfall totals. Probably the highest uncertainty in this snowstorm is across the southwest side, back out here into DC. That's probably where our absolute highest uncertainty lies with this snowstorm. And then there's also some uncertainty back up into this area here as well. But really the main area that I'm like the most uncertain on is back into DC. That's like the number one area where I'm a bit more iffy on. But yeah, if you guys are now just tuning in, or if you haven't already, make sure you consider hitting that like button. It's greatly appreciated. Share the stream with your family, friends, social media, anybody who you know, especially if they're going to be impacted by this winter storm. It's really, really appreciated. Do you want any snow, TRG? I'm almost snowed out. It would be nice to see maybe another 2 to 3 inches of snowfall before the season closes out, but I'm pretty much snowed out. I'm ready to get on with them spring tornado chases, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to get into spring. I'm ready to walk outside and not have to have 5 layers of clothing on because it's somehow 0 degrees outside in the middle of February, late February. February, for some reason, the last few years, February has tended to be a little bit more on the warm side. So this February being pretty cold was annoying. We had like 3 nice days so far this February. Yesterday, the day before yesterday, and then like a week ago. Pulling this out a little bit more, you can see those snowfall totals actually increase. So the 72-hour snowfall totals do increase just a little bit. Unfortunately, I can't like do the entire forecast time frame, which is annoying, but you generally get the gist of what we're thinking here. Generally, this area, 18 plus inches of snowfall across that area. And then really, I think one hot spot is going to be up here in Massachusetts. I think that's almost a given hot spot if you live near or south of Boston. And then there is definitely the high likelihood of another hot spot in New Jersey. It's hard to say exactly where, but somewhere in like central New Jersey, somewhere generally in here should also be a hot spot. It's just a bit difficult to say exactly where. Let's see where this is. Yeah, so you're in a winter storm watch, 2 to 4 inches of snowfall possible there. And we just get the general idea of where this is. Just, okay, 2 counties north of Richmond. Yeah, so you are, let's see. Just west of that. So, yep, 2 to 4 is a really good general thing to expect. General forecast, 2 to 4, yeah. I would not be getting my hopes up. If you are a snow lover, I would not be getting my hopes up in Eastern Virginia. If there's anywhere where I would keep my hopes lower than the forecast, it would be from Eastern Maryland all the way back down to Eastern Virginia. That's the main area where I would not get my hopes up in terms of locking in a good snowfall of 2+ inches of snowfall. And then when you get back up into DC, I know that says 8 inches, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if DC ends up with closer to 4 or 5. The official forecast, this is the official forecast here for DC, is 2. So I agree a whole lot more with the NWS than I do with the blend of models there. Again, that's like where our highest uncertainty is, in that general vicinity. Southern MD, is that Maryland? If that is Maryland, there is a chance, yeah. Though it's not high by any means. You're not in the main area for thunder snow. The main area for thunder snow is definitely back towards Delaware. So I wouldn't expect thunder snow, but it wouldn't surprise me if somebody sees thunder snow. Let me see if I can try to see if I could see lightning strike data on this. I thought this site allowed you to, but it looks like it didn't. Or it doesn't, rather. But yeah, the heavier bands might allow for a brief opportunity for thunder snow. This is our new HRRR 00Z HRRR that is rendered in. It's not all the way out yet, 40 hours out. And central New Jersey is a very clear hot spot on the 0Z HRRR, and also some hot spots in the higher elevations back into New York, higher elevations in eastern PA. But big time hot spot right into central New Jersey. And this is not going to go out far enough to where we'll be able to see what it shows for Boston. So just a heads up for Boston. If you are watching the 0Z HRRR render in and you're wondering why in the world does the HRRR only have Boston getting 10 inches of snowfall? Well, first off, it's not fully done rendered. And second off, even when it is done rendering, it's not going to be all the way out. So the forecast time frame for this to end, like Boston, your main snow event will be finished probably about 7 or a little after 7 p.m. Eastern time is when your main event will be over Monday evening / Monday night. The 18Z HRRR went out to 18Z Monday. The 00Z will go out to 00Z Tuesday morning. So when this model run is fully done here in 6 frames, much of it will be finished for Boston, but there will still be like another probably 1 or 2 hours of snowfall left that the HRRR is not picking up on. You could see with every frame we go out here, you could see the snowfall totals now 10 to 12 out there for Boston. But did this like shift at all? I want to see. Yeah, that southeast edge, man. That southeast edge is where all of our uncertainty lies. Really right in here. This is the main area for that uncertainty. And that could even extend a little bit more into Pennsylvania. And like I drew just a couple moments ago, maybe even extend into far southeastern Maryland. You could just see the differences specifically with this one band right in here. 18Z, 00Z. How much further to the east that is. But the main area of snowfall, which is in here, our main winter storm on the 2 different HRRR runs, 18Z, 00Z, there's no significant difference. The totals are definitely a bit lower in Rhode Island on the 00Z model run. But we don't want to pay too close attention to the totals on our runs here, our run-to-run model data, because it's going to change very, very frequently. So the main wording should simply just be that we're going to get a whole lot of snow, and it's going to be very significant. Even if you get like literally, even if you get 8 inches of snow in Boston, your forecast is 12 to 24 in Boston. Even if you get 6 to 8 inches of snow, that's still going to be extremely significant. And you may say, why? Boston sees 6 to 8 inches of snowfall, extremely common. Well, you know what Boston doesn't see often? Boston doesn't see 50 plus mile an hour wind gust. Oh my goodness, that's not 50. That is actually 65, 70 mile an hour wind gust. Boston doesn't see that on top of those 6 to 8 plus inches of snowfall that you normally see. So the winds are going to create an extremely dangerous situation. It is an extremely dangerous situation, really regardless of what snowfall you get. Because those winds are going to be so, honestly, intense is probably the best way to describe it. Really intense wind speeds. Let's go up here, zoom in a bit more for you with those wind speeds. And I mean, you're just going to get a swath of 45 plus mile an hour wind gusts across this entire area. 45 plus across that entire region. That goes all the way back into southeastern New York, all the way into southern Vermont, southern New Hampshire, far southeastern Maine, all the way down into southeastern Pennsylvania, even into the Philadelphia metro, and even all the way down into far southern New Jersey with that swath of damaging wind gusts. But that hot spot for damaging winds will definitely be from just north of Boston back down into far eastern Long Island. That seems to be where your wind speeds are probably going to be 55 plus mile-an-hour wind gusts. I want to see if that changes it. Okay, so there's your wind speeds in gusts instead of knots. And you can see if I remove this Boston, Boston's looking at between 65, 75 mile-an-hour wind gusts there. All right, that's 17 point, or not 17, 11.7 inches of snow there. Look at that back in New Jersey, man. 30 inches. 30 inches. And then you can see the hot spot. The hot spot coming in hot over here in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut. That's probably going to be the hot spot on this run. At least for the far New England states. So 2 hot spots on this run, probably going to be just southwest of Boston. And then, I mean, gracious, that includes New York City for that hot spot. 20 to 30 inches of snowfall in that hot spot. And then this one is like 18 to 22. But again, this is just one model run. Just to show you the official forecast. So if you're wondering, you know, what should I expect? Well, here you go. This is what you should expect. Now, you could see slightly lower, slightly higher. That's given because winter storms do not go exactly the way we forecast. There's always dry air that is going to destroy somebody's snow totals. There's always that one band that sets up over somebody's house that gives them an extremely higher amount than forecasted. For instance, that was me a couple weeks ago. The forecast in my neck of the woods went down to 1 to 2 inches of snowfall. I woke up to almost 10 inches on the ground. All because of one little band that just fed right over my city in Southern Virginia. So in this case, somebody in New Jersey, you could end up with that band that instead of 22 to 24 inches of snow, you could end up with 30 inches of snowfall, 8, maybe 9 more inches than originally expected. And then again, there's probably going to be somebody, I wouldn't be surprised if it's New York City, who ends up with the lower amount. Right now in New York City, you're expecting generally 17 to 19 inches of snowfall, roughly right around there is what you're expecting. And it wouldn't surprise me if someone in New York City ends up with 10, which is still a lot, but that just wouldn't surprise me because New York City is known to underperform. But who knows? Maybe this is the one time New York City doesn't underperform. But yeah, that's generally what you are looking at for snowfall totals there. All right, so I saw some questions on like what you're going to see for snowfall totals. So if anyone wants to put that back in the chat so I could see it again, I'll try to answer. Will there be power outages? 1,000,000%. 1,000,000 billion trillion %. There's going to be a lot of power outages, man. A bunch. With snowstorms, typically it's not insanely high for a power outages. But when you combine snowfall with winds, that's the issue. When you get a bunch of snow to go on top of trees and try to stick and freeze power lines, and then you get winds to help snap those branches, that's the big issue. Oops, let me see. How much for this area in New York? Let's see. Hopefully you don't go too far north. Ooh. Yeah, not going to get a lot out there. You're going to get snow, just probably not a lot. So you're roughly the expected is 2 to 5, with the high end being 8 inches. And then, yeah, Pez, your low end is 0, expected 1 to 2, high end 4. And let me go to Maryland. Ooh, you're in a pretty good spot. You are in an area of uncertainty. Your low end is probably about 5-6 inches of snow. That's your low end. Your expected is 10 to 14. And your high end is 20 to 24. So expect 10 to 14. Yeah, the NWS high end could happen, yeah. Which is right here. This is the high end amount. You roughly have a 10% chance of seeing the high end amount verify for your general location. But you also have a 10% chance for your low end to verify. All right, 0ZH is done. It definitely does not paint nearly as well of a picture for the New England states for a bullseye. That is for sure. There's still some snow left to fall towards the end of this model run, but this probably isn't going to give you much more than maybe an inch at max 2 with this snow band. These snow bands are very, very weak. So this model one, if it went out a little bit further, College DuPage, man, I don't know what it is with College DuPage, but the last 4 to 5 days, it has been slower than a sloth. It's about to break. It's about to pop up an error message, my word. Well, let me use Weatherwise then. So Boston, in this case, 14 inches of snowfall. Again, maybe another inch or so with the leftover snow being possible there. So you're looking at close to 15, 16 inches on this model run. And then again, 2 big bullseye here. Huge bullseye on this one. You got your bullseye back up here in Massachusetts, Rhode Island. And you got a huge bullseye. Really, I mean, gracious day, this bullseye is giant down in here. Huge bullseye in there. The ultimate bullseye right there. That would be atrocious. Almost 3 feet of snowfall. When you combine that to the with the insane wind gusts for this system, upwards of 55, 60 miles per hour. Yeah, up to 74 miles per hour, 75 mile per hour wind gusts here. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine 70, 75 mile an hour wind gusts and 3 feet of snow. Gracious day. We'll have to watch out for any more trends with this system. I do think there's a chance it shifts further to the east. It's already shifted decently to the east over the last few runs in the last 12 hours or so. But I think this is a very reasonable scenario right now that the HRRR is portraying. But we will have to watch out for any further shifts just in case. How far west we talking, Grumpy Grandpa? Because if you're like close to the border, you're going to probably get a foot of snow. 12, 14 inches is very reasonable out there. Let's see. So this is like your low end on the model runs right here, and this shows about 14 inches. Let's see how far west you are. Oh, northwest. Northwest. You could be slightly lower than what I was saying there. I was looking at due west. Yeah, I'd think 9 to 12. 9 to 12 is a really good, reasonable forecast there. Yeah, the expected amount is roughly a foot. 9 to 12 is what I would expect. However, wouldn't shock me if you end up closer to 15 inches. I think your low end up there, like if everything goes horribly for you, your low end is like 6. If things go as planned, 11, 12 inches. If things overperform, 15, 16 inches. New Haven, Connecticut. Let's see. Probably what, like 15 inches of snow? Yeah, most likely 15 inches of snowfall. I'd expect roughly 14 to 16 inches of snow. There's a chance you could get a lot higher than that, and there is a chance you could get a little bit lower than that. But really, like 14 to 16 is very reasonable. You're under those blizzard warnings too. So you could be looking at wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. That's going to be what causes your power outages. That's going to be your big issue. Let's see here. Is that in Connecticut too, Ben? Probably the same thing, really, for that area, honestly. Maybe a little bit higher, but roughly the same thing. Yeah. Really the same ordeal there. 14, 16 inches of snow expected. Local amounts higher, very much possible. Atlantic County, let's see here. It's going to take me to far southern New Jersey. So, you're in New Jersey. No matter what, really, like, worst case scenario in terms of if it depends. Because if you're a snow lover, your worst case scenario is like a foot of snow. Like, that's probably the low end for southern New Jersey. It would take quite a bit to go wrong for you to get less than a foot of snowfall. You can see that model has 25, 23, 28, 19, 20. The outlier, which is kind of the lower end here, still shows almost a foot. So I would expect roughly 16 to 19 inches is what I'd expect. But it would not surprise me at all if we end up with higher than that. The euro is very much sold on what does the euro do? I'm confused why the euro wants a lower end scenario. Mind you, the euro has been the worst for this system, so we're taking the euro with more of a grain of salt than we are the GFS at this point. Like, I don't even see a huge difference between the two. There's not even like a giant difference. Maybe the positioning of that low, even then, it's not a huge difference. Maybe the euro is just struggling with the amount of snowfall. Because we're dealing with pretty high snowfall rates here. Let's go check that. Let's go check our snowfall rates. If you didn't know, we can check that using this. We can see. So when's the heaviest snow? The absolute heaviest snow here. Go back to precipitation. For central New Jersey, which should be our hot spot, is right around 00Z on the 23rd. So that's roughly here. That's tomorrow at 8 p.m. And you could see, yeah, close to 13 to 15 inches of snowfall there. And that's going to be per 1 inch of precipitation. So if I go back to the euro here, this isn't using the 10-to-1 ratio. So not too sure, but big differences between the euro and the GFS, but the euro's been wrong thus far. The euro's been shifting all over the place, so not really something I'd trust and put some stock into. Is that far enough out? Is that why that's shifting like that? Or is that because... definitely a good southern shift with the last 2 runs. So that would favor more snowfall for New Jersey and more snowfall for eastern Maryland, but less snowfall into central and southeastern New York, as well as into western Massachusetts. So we'll have to see those little shifts, man. They can make a big difference. They can definitely make a big difference. But yeah, if you are enjoying the live stream, I do ask that you hit that like button, share this stream with your family, friends, social media, and consider hitting the subscribe button and hitting that notification bell set to all so you know when I go live or upload another video. Tomorrow, I may do a live stream tomorrow, either afternoon or tomorrow night. Actually sometime tomorrow. I don't know if I'll be able to, but just sometime. Definitely not in the morning. It would be closer to the night. Closer to the evening, to the night hours, if I do go live tomorrow for this winter storm. The peak of this is, like I said, like late tomorrow night. Like we're looking at probably this peaking for New Jersey roughly about 1, 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. Or not tomorrow morning, 1, 2 a.m. Technically Monday morning. So extremely late tomorrow night, extremely early Monday morning. And then in terms of the lowest millibar, it's probably going to peak near Long Island, Rhode Island, Monday afternoon. Yeah, I just don't see a way how the euro is going to be correct, to be honest with you. This is the best setup for a winter storm I've seen in the Northeast for 4 years. And in terms of how widespread it is, it's the best setup that I've ever seen. I know 2016, 2017 was partially similar to this in terms of records that were broken, but I mean, you can't get a whole lot better than this for a snowstorm. You really can't. The only way how you can really get a bit better is if your cold air is in place a little sooner. But I mean, it's just a classic nor'easter. Very classic nor'easter. (2018) I remember 2018. I remember that from my area. Let's see how bad we're talking now. Honestly, this one doesn't even compare to that. This one's potential is substantially higher. It really doesn't even compare, to be honest with you, Ben. This one is significantly higher. Really, only the coastal areas of the New England states ended up with much of that is 6 to 12 inches of snowfall. Local amounts up to 18 across the coastal areas of the New England states. And then there was a hot spot of up to 3 feet in northern Maine. But really, like, it's, if you put the two side by side, this one is significantly more impactful. Like that blizzard was limited to this area right in here. That's the main area that saw 6+ inches of snowfall. And this winter storm, it's a very similar track. The only thing is we're not looking at like 6 to 12 with local amounts up to 18. That's not what we're looking at with this snowstorm. We're looking at a widespread swath of 12 to 18 with multiple areas likely to see 24 inches of snowfall and even some spots up to 30 inches. So when you put the 2 and 2 in comparison, isolated spots up to 18, isolated spots up to 30, that's a big difference. That blizzard was really well known for the snow it dropped in Massachusetts and Maine back in 2018. I think this one compares more to 2016. Although it's definitely further off to the north than 2016. 2016 focused from western NC, southern Virginia, back to central Tennessee, central Kentucky, all the way up into southeastern Massachusetts. So this one is definitely a bit more north than the blizzard in 2018. Or 2016, rather. And what about 2017? Yeah, so that's why people are comparing it to 2016 and 2017, because 2016 had a big snowstorm in northern Virginia, back into New Jersey, and then 2017 had a huge snowstorm in Connecticut and Massachusetts, as well as back up into New Hampshire. So this is kind of like almost a small combination of the two. Kind of like a bit of a combination of the two. 2016 had snow in a lot of these areas that we're expecting similar totals in, but it had a way higher snowfall total forecast for these areas to the west where we're not expecting as much snowfall in. And then 2017 was mainly back up into the interior, far northeastern US. So there's definitely some records at jeopardy of being broken that was set a little over 10 years ago. And I think central New Jersey has the best chance to break that record in the last 10 years. So, like, if we just pick a town here, I don't want to go too far north, because when you go too far north, you get into the totals from the 2016 blizzard. So if I go to when was the last time Jackson Township in J had 24 inches of snow. Okay, that says 2016. I want to go a little bit more south. So we're going to try Washington Township. 1996. That's what I thought. 1996. So if we do verify with 2 feet of snow, like what some of these higher end models are saying, the NWS is forecasting almost 24 inches of snow around this area. That's the biggest snowstorm in 20 years. So we're looking at the biggest snowstorm between 10 and 20 years, depending on exactly where you are in New Jersey. And then New York expecting the biggest blizzard in 9 years. And some of these areas here haven't been in blizzard warnings ever since then. I don't think New York City has been in a blizzard warning ever since 2017. Let's see Yeah, I mean, I don't see a way how the Euro's right. I mean, we can take it into we could take it into consideration that this is like the low end scenario, but personally, I don't think we're going to be seeing this low end scenario. Now, this low end scenario is going to verify for somebody. Like I said, we're going to have pockets of where somebody does end up with that low end amount of, like in New York City, your expected amount is 18 inches. Your lower end, somebody in New York City is probably going to end up closer to 10 inches of snowfall, whereas somebody off to your southwest who is expecting 18 inches could end up with closer to like 20 to 24. So some people are going to overperform, some people are going to underperform. Depends what numbers you're talking about. These numbers that I'm showing now is official, so. I-95 corridor. If that's like straight through central New Jersey, no, these numbers aren't being underdone. I don't think anywhere in New Jersey, except for like the extreme southern tip of New Jersey, is going to see the chance for 8 to 12 inches of snowfall. Like really like Atlantic City, Ocean City, Cape May, these far southern areas right on the coastline. That's where you're going to see the chance for 8 to 12. But really, almost the whole state of New Jersey is looking at 12 to 18. And then central New Jersey is looking at 18 to 24. And if you look at your high-end amount, we even can't rule out some spots of 30 inches in central New Jersey. Even down here, you could see 37, 38 inches. But that's your high-end amount. This is the totals you want to pay attention to, because this is the official forecasts from the National Weather Service. This is the graphic the NWS has put out. This was all the graphics put out at 7 p.m. Eastern, so it is 2 hours old. However, I don't think we got a forecast in the last 2 hours. I don't know what you're on, dude. I'm not using models. I don't know what part of official forecast you don't get. This is not a model. This is an official forecast. This is the expected amounts from the National Weather Services across the U.S., specifically where we're looking here in New Jersey. It is the official forecasts. It's not a model. Yes, we were looking at models earlier because I was comparing all the other models to the Euro and trying to say how I'm not really buying the Euro's scenario with it being so low on snowfall totals. Yeah, last time they updated was 7 p.m. I was just making sure this was up to date. The last time the National Weather Service out here in central New Jersey, which is Philadelphia / Mount Holly, PHI, put out a forecast was at 7 p.m. Saturday evening. Which is commonly known as 7 p.m. is known as the 00Z runs. I'm curious here. Just go ahead and grab that. Yeah, the high end for this town, this little white dot you see there, the high end for that is 35 inches. I can't drag it over to where you can see it. You know what? There you go. 35 inches. So the point is, I think a lot of people in New Jersey is going to see over a foot of snowfall. And then I think a lot of people in central New Jersey is going to see 18 to 24. And then I do think there is a chance that we could get some local amounts of 30 inches of snowfall. I'm not like the high end amount being 38. I don't know about that. Like, you would have to have some extremely perfect conditions to get that high into amount. The highest I see anywhere, in my opinion, is 30. If everything perfect comes together, the high-end amount I see is 30 inches, which you can see the HRRR now portrays, what, 30, 31? Yeah. I haven't seen anything other than the NAM portray higher than 30, 31 inches, which the NAM, as we all know, is known as the never accurate model. Yep, here's the new NAM. Look at the new NAM, man. And this isn't even done yet, so this prepare for this to be shared all over Twitter because it's about to show almost 4 feet of snow for central New Jersey when it's done rendering here. Look at the difference between the NAM 3K, which is a slightly better model run, and the NAM. The NAM 3K has a hotspot of about 20 inches, which is reasonable. The NAM 12K, the lesser resolution model, has a hotspot of nearly 4 feet. And like I said, by the time this goes out all the way, it's probably going to be very, very close to 4 feet. So like the NAM, the normal NAM model is just atrocious when it comes to snow. Really, it doesn't matter what range you're at, whether you're at 3 hours, 6 hours out, or the maximum 84 hours out. It really doesn't matter. The NAM is just horrible. Let me look at, this is the high-res Canadian model run, which, you know, they do agree. The high-res Canadian and the Euro are a little bit more in alignment, but I still think that's more on the lower end side of things. Because, I mean, you could see here, look at the HRRR. We're really looking at central New Jersey, over 2 feet. The RAP, just under 2 feet. The NAM, just over 2 feet. Actually, well over 2 feet. The NAM 3K, just under 2 feet. The GFS, just under 2 feet. The global Canadian model run has a little band setting up here of just over 2 feet. And then you have the high-res Canadian, which shows a little over a foot, and then the Euro, which shows 1 foot. So really all models are disagreeing with the Canadian and the Euro, but the Euro especially, at least the Canadian has these isolated spots upwards of 18 inches of snowfall, a foot to 18 inches of snowfall. The Euro has like no spots that high except for when it comes to back towards Rhode Island. I definitely won't be live for much of the event, but I will go live probably tomorrow night. I'll probably end up doing a live stream tomorrow night. Either tomorrow evening or tomorrow night. The heaviest stuff begins after 10 p.m. tomorrow Eastern time. So, say we go live at 10 p.m. This is generally what snowfall totals would look like by then. And many areas are still under the double digits. And look at the 12-hour accumulations here. Look how high this stuff gets. In 12 hours, that's from 15, let's see. So that's from 11 p.m. tomorrow night till 11 p.m. Monday morning. But again, that is the higher end. That's on the HRRR, so that is definitely on the more high-end side of things. So much of your snowfall is going to fall tomorrow night and into Monday morning. I did want to check Boston. Looks like Boston ends up with roughly 14 inches of snowfall on this model run. That's reasonable. That's reasonable. The NWS, I think, is forecasting 20 for Boston. So 14's on the little bit of the lower end there, but I wouldn't be shocked if Boston ended up with 14, 15 inches of snow. That wouldn't shock me much. All right, let me go ahead and show you guys this again here. I'm going to close all this stuff out. So here's the WSSI. This is the Winter Storm Severity Index Scale. And basically, if you're in the orange, red, or purple, that's where we're looking at a pretty significant winter storm. The red area is where we are talking about the major impacts. When we say a major winter storm, that's what I mean. That red area is a major winter storm, major impacts expected there. And then we do have that level 5 out of 5 purple area too for New Jersey and back into New York City. Again, WSSI, it combines all types of things. It combines the amount of snowfall you get, how common that amount of snowfall is for that said area, how populated the said area is, what the wind gusts will be, the risk of blowing snowfall, how many people are likely to travel in that general area. So it takes that stuff into account. It doesn't just take into account snowfall totals. So that's why you'll often see, level 4 or 5 out of 5s in higher population areas like Philadelphia, New York City, or back up into Rhode Island. You could see a big area around Providence, big area back up here into Boston, because those are very high population areas. Hold on, let me see where this is. So you are in a really good spot for a whole lot of snowfall. Most likely you'll end up with roughly 20 inches of snowfall. Yeah, 15 to 20 inches of snowfall. And the biggest problem is the winds gusting of 60. That's your biggest problem. So even if you don't end up with like 20 inches of snowfall, even if you end up with like a foot, you're still likely going to have significant problems because of those damaging winds. Think we'll lose power in southern Connecticut? It's hard to say. It's for sure a very real possibility. It is definitely a very real possibility. Also, if we take a look here, trying to see if I can get that right frame. Look at that. Wind gusts could be as high as 80 miles per hour in eastern Long Island. As high as 80 miles per hour. Could you imagine that? And that's because of how quickly this thing's going to be deepening. We're dropping about 30 millibars in 24 hours. Which is wild. Let's go to the 0ZH on here. A lot of people are talking about the 0ZH right now. It's a run that we're not going to see for probably many more years. I mean, you're talking about 31 inches of snow in East Central New Jersey. I can't even tell you the last time I've seen that on any model output other than the high-res Canadian. The high-res Canadian does some weird stuff. I think the high-res Canadian said like 80 inches of snowfall in one spot. Let's see if it says anything stupid right now. I didn't even look. Yeah, see, look at that. 57 inches of snowfall. 65. I don't know what's wrong with this model run. 54. Like, almost 60, 68. Like, come on. Like, come on. That's the only model run that ever does stuff like that. I don't know what's so broken about it. but it does it to like every winter storm. Like it's if we have a major winter storm on the table for anywhere, it's gonna spit out something like that. I remember in my neck of the woods, it spit out like literally 4 feet of snow for Central Virginia, Southern Virginia. Man, oof. Do we got state of emergencies yet? Because I'd be shocked if we didn't. Let me see. New York governor declares 20 counties for a state of emergency. New Jersey governor declares 17 counties in a state of emergency. So there's state of emergencies going out. The bad thing about state of emergencies, it's like difficult to figure out where state of emergencies are in effect for and how many. Like you got to go search each individual website and try to find the executives or like the most reliable sources to see exactly what counties. Most of the time you have to go to each individual government site and then find the order itself and find the counties listed and then make a map of it. Somebody needs to like come up with a website that shows state of emergencies for weather. It seems to be something that's a lot harder to do than most other things with weather. Like power outages, school closures, road closures, weather advisories, tornado warnings, severe warnings, all that stuff seems to be not as difficult. But state of emergencies, there's like no sites for that. Like I said, you have to go to like each state's government site. NYC schools are already closed. That's really good to hear. The good news is that this is happening really on a Sunday. So many people are already off of work and already available to help out with, any issues that may be happening in their local area. But I can tell you this, impacts are going to linger into Monday morning, 1 billion %. This is 10 a.m. Monday morning, and we'll still have a major winter storm ongoing, major blizzard in all of these areas at that time. And then finally, by the time we get to Monday evening, 7 p.m., we still have, it's not as insane, but we'll still have a major blizzard and a major winter storm across those areas. And it will be breaking up across these regions. I did mention in my my video this morning that snowfall across lake effect areas probably wasn't going to be that big of an issue. But ever since I mentioned that, we've started to see an uptrend on models. Like now, literally, this model has almost a foot east of Erie in Pennsylvania. And it also has over a foot just to the east of, actually over Westville, Indiana. So looks like lake effect indeed will be an issue. So I jinxed that. I jinxed that in my video. I said at least lake effect won't be an issue. Yep, it will be. I wonder how the stores look like across these areas. Because like this wasn't really a well forecasted storm, to be honest with you. Like there was signs of it being an issue and signs of it being a major winter storm, but really we didn't start portraying that social media wise until like day ago. Like really yesterday morning. Yesterday morning is really when everything started to lock in, and we were like, yeah, this is probably going to be one of the big winter storms that we see this year. I know there was talk about it. We even talked about it on this channel. I talked about it 5 days ago, but there was only one model one showing it being a possibility for coastal areas in the New England states, so we just wrote it off. And then like yesterday morning and the night before, that's when models started to agree a lot more. All right, let's see if there is. I think that's really all the main stuff I wanted to show you guys, so I'll just keep y'all on the main NWS forecasts here. So the plan is to go live tomorrow night. Most likely I'll be live tomorrow night. And probably Monday morning as well. So I should have 2 live streams, possibly maybe even 3, depending on how things go. I might have one like tomorrow evening and then in stream and then go live again tomorrow night, then in stream and then go live again Monday morning. We'll have to see. Instead of doing like one long 12-hour coverage tomorrow and then the next day doing a long 6-hour coverage, just kind of split up like a hour or 2 here, hour or 2 here, hour or 2 here. Wow, that's insane. I mean, that's really about what I would expect in the Northeast, though, when a winter storm comes through. I mean, especially one that has been so poorly forecasted like this, you're going to get a lot of panic from the public. A lot of panic. Charleston, likely 2 to 3 inches of snow. So nothing too crazy. 2 to 3 inches of snowfall. And in terms of winds, probably like 20 mile an hour wind gusts, 20, 25 mile an hour wind gusts. I'd say 20. So, yeah, I'd say 1 to 2 inches of snowfall, probably 1 to 2 inches of snowfall, 20 mile an hour wind gusts. That's really what I'd be thinking of being a possibility. And then, of course, the higher elevations in West Virginia, that's going to be a jackpot. 20, 21 inches of snowfall there. So, yeah. If you are in, like, these main areas, if you are in, like, the purple, or not the purple, the pink. If you are in the pink here in Pennsylvania, I'll draw out where. This area in the pink and in the red. Really, I don't want you to pay a whole bunch of attention to the snowfall totals. Yes, you can look at the snowfall totals and get an idea of what you may see, but the main story should be that it's going to be an impactful winter storm, and you don't want to travel tomorrow or Monday and probably even Tuesday morning, and maybe even beyond that. So at least try your best to stay home tomorrow and Monday. And try to delay things Tuesday morning because, you know, things are going to freeze back Monday night. Things are going to freeze again. Tuesday morning, they'll be frozen. So try to delay stuff till after 10, 11 a.m. Tuesday morning, if possible. I know it's easier said than done. That's for sure. So just be very careful. Don't get too caught up in the difference between a foot of snowfall and 18 inches of snowfall, or the difference between 6 inches of snowfall and 10 inches of snowfall. Just the main message should be it's going to be an impactful major blizzard and winter storm, and you need to prepare for it. Again, it's perfectly fine to look at those snowfall totals. I just don't want you to look at snowfall totals like this. Don't look at a foot of snowfall and think, okay, that's not like an insane amount. And then look at 24 inches of snowfall and think, okay, I need to only prepare if I get more than 20 inches of snowfall or more than 24 inches of snowfall. 12 inches of snowfall is going to be just a little less impactful than 24. The biggest thing is those wind gusts. If we just had 12 to 24 inches of snowfall, we wouldn't be looking at an insane amount of impacts here. We'd still be looking at big disruptions to daily life and infrastructure, but because of those wind gusts, that's going to be what causes your issues, where you have a lot of down trees, a lot of down power lines, a lot of power outages, days without power, unable to travel, even regardless of snow plows. That is why this is going to be just way more impactful than your normal winter storm for these areas. Again, I don't want you to just be caught up into those snowfall totals in the sense of I'm not getting 2 feet of snow, so I'll be fine. Because like out here in Virginia, that's what a lot of people do. I'm not getting 6 to 8 inches of snowfall, I'll be fine. And then all of a sudden there's a puny amount for you guys up in the New England states, but 4 inches of snow down here in Virginia, that can cause disruptions for like 3 days. 3 days. We had 10 inches of snow overall. It took like 2.5, 3 weeks to get rid of all the snow. Matter of fact, there is still some patches of snow that we have left over from our snowstorm and ice storm back in the end of January. The end of January. 3 weeks ago, we still have ice and snow from that snowstorm. So, just like that little amount of snow can be an issue here in Virginia. Just 4 inches of snowfall can last like 3 to 5 days. And we had temperatures got into freaking 75 degrees Fahrenheit, mid 70s, and we still managed to have a little bit of snow left over, which I find insane. But thankfully, much of that is, gone. Any snow that's left over is like where a plow piled up a bunch of snow in one corner. Western Long Island, yeah, you're going to get slammed, man. You are going to get slammed. I'd say 17 to 20 inches of snowfall expected. Wind gust of 60 miles per hour likely. 50, 60 mile an hour wind gust likely. Eastern Long Island is going to get like 80 mile an hour winds likely, so Western Long Island, 50, 60. Maybe the Euro doesn't show as much snow because of something to do with temperatures, although I don't notice a big difference. Temperatures look a little bit colder on the HRRR for central New Jersey compared to the Euro, but it's only like 1 to 2 degrees. That shouldn't be a big issue. Oh, you better get some snow, Pez. There's some heading your way. Yep, you're definitely going to get snow tonight. And you're going to get a lot of snow showers tomorrow, but a lot of it is probably just... Let me see. A lot of it is probably just going to be either very light or it's going to be... let me see the term for it. It's going to be Virga. Which is where it's a little bit too dry down towards the surface to where the snow falls. So radar might show it pouring snow. Go outside and you see 1, 2 flakes. Like we had that 1 week ago. The DBZ was like 20 over my area, and I went outside and I didn't even see 1 flake. And I was out there for like 20 minutes. Actually, I was out there closer to 30 minutes, but still. Alrighty, though. I'll catch y'all in a live stream probably tomorrow evening or tomorrow night. Make sure you have that notification bell set to all. So you know when I do go live. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Before you head out, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, share the stream and the channel with your family, friends, social media. Consider hitting that subscribe button with your notification bell set to all, again, so you know when I go live tomorrow. For any new information, you could either rewatch this live stream, especially the first 30 minutes or so. That's when I went over all the data pretty rapidly in a quick fashion there. And if you don't want to rewatch the live stream, you can always rewatch this morning's video. The only thing that has really changed, two things that have changed from this morning's video. Number one, lake effect is going to be more of an issue than I originally thought. And number two, blizzard warnings indeed did get extended to the northwest like I expected and called out in this morning's video. With that being said, I believe that is everything I wanted to talk about. So I appreciate everybody for being here. Appreciate the mods for mod chat. And again, hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow. We still do have 2 minutes left, so I'm not going to switch to the ending screen just yet. I'm not trying to repeat what I did 3 or so days ago. I'm just quickly double checking. Yep, nothing new here. Those blizzard warnings could be expanded even a little bit more to the west, but I don't expect any substantial shifts with those blizzard warnings. But I wouldn't be shocked if, like, we get those blizzard warnings expanded, like one more county over in here, maybe this county, and possibly a little bit more inland in Massachusetts. That wouldn't surprise me. But I don't think we're going to have as big of a shift in blizzard warnings as what we did this morning. Because that, you know, there was a lot more blizzard warnings issued. I just think maybe a few more counties could be included into those blizzard warnings over the next 24 hours or so as we either do observe or don't observe those blizzard conditions ongoing. But yeah, all right, that's going to be it. Once again, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you, mods, for modding chat. I will see you guys tomorrow evening. Likely be live after 6 p.m. Eastern time. So I know a lot of people are going to be live tomorrow. All I ask, I know not all you guys are going to tune back in tomorrow, is just make sure you are watching somebody's coverage that you trust on YouTube. Make sure you trust them. Make sure they've been accurate in the past. And they seem like they know what they're doing, as well as also tune into your local National Weather Service and local meteorologists for the best information. Always go to them and make sure that that information is generally lining up to what other people are telling you. So again, very impactful winter storm on par for tomorrow afternoon all the way till Monday evening. Make sure those preparations are rushed to completion. Get them finished ASAP, and try not to go on the roads tomorrow, Monday, and into at least Tuesday morning. With that being said, once again, stay safe, watch the snowfall, and I'll catch you in tomorrow's live stream. Goodbye. stay safe, watch the snowfall, and I'll see you in tomorrow's live stream. Have a great